I want you to know, I've talked about Zach all weekend, but you don't really know how important it is that I lost him, that I'm here. Okay? Without losing him, I can promise you I would not be doing what I'm doing at all. So I want to tell you his story because I believe that since he didn't get an opportunity to leave a legacy, he's leaving his legacy now. What I'm doing with Zach's Ridge is his legacy. And I want you to understand it because it's over the top. It really is. I want to share it with you. Remember, I told you I had struggled for 9 years from the time that he was 14 until the time he was 23 to save his life because of his drugs and alcohol. Because he was an addict, to the extent he was an addict, in order to support that habit, he broke into people's houses. He was a thief. So not my moral compass, and so not what he was taught. But that's what he turned into. When he died, I felt that I was being punished for something. Because when you lose people, I've lost my parents, I've lost my brother, that sort of gets settled down after a while, the pain. But the pain of losing a child is the same every day, every year, going forward. It's the strangest thing. It never lets up. You just have to learn to manage it. I didn't manage it very well in the first part of it. I became extremely angry with God because I was a good girl. I had a good moral compass. I always felt like I lived by the rules, his rules. And then he took my child. I didn't tell anybody I felt that way. That doesn't go over well. And people would come up to me and say, well, you know he's in a better place, trying to make me feel better. I wouldn't say it out loud, but what I was thinking is, you don't know that. You do not know if he's in a better place. Because God lies. That's the way I felt. So for about 4 years, I just went through the motions. I had 2 other children. I couldn't fall apart. But I absolutely denied losing my child. I would not tell you that. If you met me, you would never know that I'd lost a child. Because I just didn't talk about it. I took everything I had of his, he was my firstborn, so I had pictures, photographs, home movies galore. I put them in boxes and I put them up in my attic. I could not stand to look at them. I just pretended. If you met me on the street, you might find out that I'd lost a child. If you asked me, how many children do you have? I'd say 3. I wasn't going to deny him. And then if you asked me the ages, that was the problem, because he wasn't getting any older. So I found a program. Remember, I told you I tried everything to save him and nothing seemed to work. Well, I found a program, much like this one, that I honestly thought when I became involved with it that might have been the one thing that would have saved him. That might have made the difference. So I started to help out there. I started to volunteer for this place. And I met a woman there. Her name is Carol Provost, and she's an artist, quite good one. One weekend, we were invited out to her house, and she had her paintings all over her walls. And she paints in pastels, and I was like, wow, Carol, these are beautiful. Do you paint? And she said, yes, I do. I said, do you paint for other people? Well, sometimes. I said, well, paint me something. I'll pay you. Okay. So she's like, well, okay, sure. 4 years goes by. I don't see her very often, but every time that I do see her, I ask her about my painting. She goes, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do that. I keep forgetting. right before Zach was killed, he had spent 3 years in prison for his being a thief. That is not my son. That is not his spirit. And when I told y'all when you came in here, you are not your behavior. You're not. If he's not, you're not. And I want you to understand why I think that. It's not just because he's my child. This is Zach. I want you to notice his eyes. Eyes are the windows to the soul. His behavior was not his spirit. That's what he did. It's not who he was. Can you see his spirit in his eyes? He's blowing me a kiss. I want to show you some more because he was really a beautiful child. Of course, he's mine, right? But this one shows his eyes so beautifully. See the spirit? Not gone. This one I took about 2 weeks before he was killed. Look at his eyes. He'd been in prison for 3 years. Still there. Still there. So, I couldn't deal with his death. I always told myself that if it were true that he were in a better place, I could stand that. My son was not happy here. It was not a good life for him. So I could go on if I knew for sure that he was in a better place, but I just couldn't come to that. And I cut off everything with God. People would say, well, you believe in God? Oh, yeah, right. Just didn't have any energy left for that. But I wanted to help other people. And so I learned how to do that, working with this other program. So, when Zach was 13, he took a trip with my brother. And it was to Wyoming. And he was with his male cousins. And it would have been his happiest time, I think, because he was an all-outdoorsy boy. And they camped out. And he loved being outside and loved snakes and, all that kind of stuff. In fact, he brought one home. He brought a snake. So it was just a beautiful trip for him. And he was 13. It was right before he started going sideways. So one day, I was at I was helping this program. And Carol, the artist, walked in and she said, I have your painting. I don't understand it. I don't usually paint these things like this. And I've even shown it to some of the people that know you well. And they have said, I asked them, should I give it to her? And they said yes. So here it is. She said, but what I want you to know is that it's from God. Right. I didn't say, sure, but I was like, just give it to me. There's no way. When she turned it around and showed it to me, I hit the floor because I knew I'd seen that somewhere before. So the training's over, I go to my home, I go up into my attic, I bring down all my boxes, take out all the photographs, and I'm playing tapes and I'm doing things like that. And one of my daughters walked in and I said, Shay, look at this. Look at this. Where have I seen this? And she said, Mom, it's on that tape. It's on that tape from Wyoming. I said, I think you're right. So I got it out. I found it on the tape and I took it down to a place in Dallas, here in Dallas, that could blow it up for me. Now, what I want you to understand about this scene, put this back there. This scene right here, you can see he's 13, you know. What he's doing is he's running back to the car to go and get a raft because there's water. There's a stream, beautiful thing there, and all kinds of rocks and beautiful shrubbery and, things like that. Okay? This is my painting. This would have been his happiest time. I believe that God sent me a tangible message because I am a hardhead. Okay, hardhead, you need a painting? Let me paint you a picture. I've got him. He's in a better place. It changed my world. God in our bugs now. And there is life after death. I know it for a fact. There is no way that could come out of a woman I don't even know. Didn't even know. I could deal with it now, and I understand why he was taken. And there was a reason. But what I like to share with the young people in here is how he died. He was going to work at night. He was coming home. It was 1:30 in the morning, and those of you that are familiar with Dallas, where the High Five is, it wasn't the High Five then. It was just where Central and 635 come together, and then you have the Cloverleaf, right? So he was headed north on Central. At the time, there was plenty of area for him to pull off to the side of the road. It isn't there now, it's concrete, but he could have, but he didn't do that. He pulled into the inside. It's an 8-lane highway with those cement barriers. He pulled to the inside of the barrier. He jumped over the barrier as and was running across the other 4 lanes of traffic. Had a flat tire. He had a spare. I don't know why he was doing that. But he jumped over and he got hit by a car. What? But this is the kicker with that. Of course, they did an autopsy. 1:30 in the morning. He had just gotten off work. He was hit in the far right-hand lane by the far right-hand bumper of that car. He was this far from making it. All he had to do was jump. His blood alcohol level was 0.19. You think that impaired his judgment that much? Yeah. Crazy. But what I'm here to tell you, from my heart to yours, I'm the most blessed woman on the planet. I lost my son, but look what I get every month. Thank you. You fill me up. And thank you for letting me tell you about him. He's why we're here. So when you want to thank somebody for your training, thank Zach. Okie dokie. I'm done. I'm toast. Remember, we played that game where I told you no one can save you. You cannot save someone else that does not want to be saved. Remember I told you that? That's so true. You cannot save someone.
What you can do is that you can make you be the best that you can be for the people that care about you. Save you first. Then you can be there for them. That's Zach's Ridge message. And whatever your family legacy is, stop it right here. It stops here. Don't hand it down to another human being, ever. You think you don't have power? You think you can't help? It's not true. It starts with you. Today's a new day. Create your world. What kind of world do you want? Yeah, exactly. So thank you. Appreciate it.